Okay, yeah, we've muted audios and we've closed up videos so that we don't get to talk over our heads. So feel free to use the chat box. Bren wants this to be as interactive and conversational as it should be. So if you have any questions or if you think there's anything she should, throw more light on, or personal experiences, feel free to leave it in the comments. I will be monitoring that, and she would also take her time to do that before all of this is done. Thank you so much, Brian, and yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Frank. Can everyone hear me? Hi, everyone.
Yeah, pretty decent yeses.
Okay, because like now that the microphone is on, I can't really tell if people can hear me, but just good evening, everyone, and good afternoon from my end, because it's just 2 minutes past 2 where I am right now. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining the content workshop for this webinar. So today's webinar, we will be talking about ways you can take care of yourself in uncertain times, just like the global pandemic we're actually facing right now. A lot of people are going through tough times. People have lost their jobs. There's heightened anxiety, depression. People don't even know what to do. There's so many things. Businesses have been affected. You talk about food insecurity, because if you do not have a job, there's no way you can actually have money to buy the things you want, to buy the food you need, the clothes you need, to pay your bills, pay your rent. So the whole global pandemic is really, really, affecting people negatively. But the core thing I want to talk about today is about our well-being, our wellness, your mental health. So when we talk about wellness and mindfulness, we are basically talking about your whole being, you being fine, you being safe, you being healthy. And like I said, in the hustle bustle of this life right now, people are finding it very difficult to attune to their inner state, because there's a lot of chaos. People don't even know what to do right now, and we are bombarded with a lot of external stimuli coming outside, like, what should I do next? I don't feel better. Who should I speak with? How can I even regain my balance in terms of like my mental well-being, my emotional things? So today, what I will be talking about is mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What are ways we can actually take care of ourselves so we can maintain and sustain our emotional security? So when we talk about mindfulness, mindfulness is the connecting bridge between your mind and your present moment. That's why I always say that people shouldn't ignore their emotions. Don't ignore the things that are going on in your mind and even around you, because you have to be self-aware. So that connecting bridge between your mind and your present moment, what is going on right now, the COVID-19, losing a job, people dying, things happening on social media, you have to maintain a connecting bridge between your inner world and your outer world, which is your environment. And mindfulness is actually an art of staying aware of what is happening right now, what you're thinking about the moment, and how you can feel the present moment. It's not about saying, oh, there's COVID-19, so I don't care. No, 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 that's not what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is saying, yes, you're aware that there's a problem out there, but how can you still maintain balance within yourself? Mindfulness is a very gradual thing. It's gradual, it's a progressive process, and it requires regular practice. For example, as living beings, we need food every day, right? You need food to nourish yourself. Food is even the same thing that gives you energy, right? Energy to do whatever you want to do. So that's how mindfulness works. You need to make sure it's a very gradual thing, it's very progressive, and you do it regularly. So once you master the art of mindfulness, you have to be very persistent. You have to make sure that the way you observe yourself, the way you observe your emotions, the way you even observe your behaviors and observe all the things that are going on in your environment, make sure it is not judgmental to yourself. Like, things might go wrong in your life. For example, you have an exam to write, and maybe you write the exam, the result is out, and you didn't get the exact score or the grade that you were expecting. You don't have to be judgmental. You don't have to start saying, oh, you're dumb, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Just know that maybe there were lapses during that period we're trying to prepare for that exam. So that's why you didn't, get the expected result. So that's what mindfulness is also teaching us. Like, don't be judgmental when it comes to how you label yourself, how you analyze things that are happening right now in your life, and giving yourself that room. On social media, you always hear people say safe space, create safe space for people. The thing is, that safe space we're always talking about, create one for yourself before you can be able to create safe spaces or brave spaces for other people. Because if you don't create safe space for yourself, there's no way you're going to blossom. There's no way you're going to flourish. There's no way you're even going to grow. There's no way you're even going to expand your thinking process or your thought process. It doesn't happen. Like they always say, charity begins at home. So that's what mindfulness is teaching us. Let it start from within you. Let it be very non-judgmental. Let it be a gradual process. Let it be something that is progressive. Let it be something you do regularly. And why are you doing it? That's the next question you should be asking yourself. Why should I even care about my emotional security? Why should I even care about being mentally fine, mentally sound? Why should I even find balance in a very chaotic world that we live in? Why should I even care about my health, my well-being, my wellness during this COVID-19? You should be asking yourself that question, because the thing about life is about order. Life is about processes. Life is about you understanding why you are doing certain things. You always have to ask yourself the why question, you know. So the development of mindfulness is very, very, very effective. And when I say it's effective, I'm saying that there are benefits, there are advantages, there are meaningful outcomes that you can actually experience and see in your life when you start practicing mindfulness. We talk about meditation, yoga, even praying for those who are religious, even just saying your prayers, doing your religious rituals, going to your church or worship center, your mosque, or wherever, your temple. Those are also part of mindfulness from a religious standpoint. You just even, putting on your candles in your room, trying to listen to a very calming song on your phone, it's also still part of mindfulness. And mindfulness has a lot of benefits. So right now that we're all, facing this COVID-19, when you start carrying out different mindful practices, number one is it will help you reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, stress. So stress can be internal or external. But when you carry out mindful practices, it will definitely reduce all the symptoms. Even if you're having anxiety right now, you're having panic attacks, you're going through stress, depression. And then the good part of mindfulness is the fact that it helps you increase or improve self-regulated behavior. So, everybody talks about, take care of yourself, maintain your self-care, be kind to yourself, love yourself, and all of that. But the thing is, if you do not know how to self-regulate, then there will be a problem. Even if you're doing yoga, even if you're praying 24/7, even if you're doing the things that you think will help you stay mentally fine, if you do not practice self-regulation. So self-regulation is you basically keeping your emotions in check. If you're getting angry all the time, you need to ask yourself, why am I always getting angry? You know, If you're feeling sad all the time, you need to ask yourself, why am I getting sad or feeling sad all the time? What are the stressors in my life right now? What are the things that are stressing me? Who are the people in my life right now that are draining my energy? You always have to ask yourself the why question when you're thinking about mindfulness, wellness, mental health. And it's not easy, especially if you are medically diagnosed with a mental illness. It's really not easy. So it's very good that you find a community of people who understand your lived experiences, or you can even get a psychotherapist. I know that one is not easy because I know here in Canada you have to book an appointment. Sometimes they're not available, but luckily we have a lot of non-profit organizations that have volunteers to speak to people on the phone. So find a tribe of people that understand your lived experiences, people that are going to create a safe and brave space for you where there's reciprocal vulnerability, where people can share what they're currently going through. They can also share suggestions. They can also share tips with you, guidelines of how you can actually maintain a whole, healthy, and safe mental health or your emotional security. So like I said earlier, mindfulness, it's all about improving your self-regulated behaviors, your emotions, um, and your overall well-being, and also your interpersonal functioning. So when I talk about interpersonal functioning, how you relate with other people. How do you, when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're happy, when you're lively, when you're joyful, what kind of energy are you putting out there into the universe? What kind of energy are you actually putting out into the environment? What are people actually receiving from you? Because life is not just about you. You also have to be considerate about other people. What are the kind of energy you're actually dissipating into the environment? What is the energy people are actually drawing from you as a person? Like I said, safe space. We talk about safe space, we think it's literally physical space for people to come, talk, and all of that. No, even you as an individual, you have to make sure you are a safe space to other people. And like I said, be a safe space to yourself first before you can be able to create a safe space for other people. And this starts with self-awareness and you being able to self-regulate your behaviors and your emotions, irrespective of what you're going through at the moment. And when we talk about mindfulness practices, we have reasons. Like I said, there are reasons, there are benefits, there are advantages, there are social outcomes, educational outcomes, emotional outcomes, even financial outcomes of doing mindfulness based practices or activities. The number one thing, like I said, it will definitely reduce symptoms of stress, anxiety, depression. It will also help you promote positive thinking, because if you're coming from a very relaxed state of mind, no matter what is going on around you, even if it's like social media right now is really toxic, but because you now have a mindful balance in your mental health, it will help you generate more positive thinking, more positive thoughts. So even when people are saying things or trying to, use fear mongering, because that's what I think that's one of the biggest problems right now during this global health crisis. There's a lot of fear mongering going on social media. People are typing things, posting things, tweeting things that are not true, like false information. All kinds of things are going on, and it's like I said, it leads to heightened anxiety. But when you start practicing mindfulness and doing all kinds of meditation, well-being practices, and all of that, it will help you generate more positive thinking, more positive thoughts, and it will help you know how to respond. So when things are happening, you don't just react immediately. You have to pause, take a break, self-reflect. What is going on? How do I adapt or adjust to the changes that are going on right now in our society, in our world, in my environment? How can I actually use my self-regulated behaviors to make sure that I'm not putting myself in a position or place of harm? That's what mindfulness does. It makes you generate positive thinking, positive thoughts. Mindfulness also helps you develop a deep and meaningful insight. So why everyone is, um, going to the grocery store to panic buy things, everyone is scared, people are tweeting things, saying things, all kinds of things about the COVID-19, and not just COVID-19, maybe any other negative thing that must have happened. It could be the death of someone in your family or somebody in your community. It could even be losing a job, or just like different things that really causes disappointment and stresses us out. But by the time you start doing mindful practices, it will definitely help you develop a very deep and meaningful insight. So I'm going to use I'll use a job loss for an example here. um if you lose a job, especially like right now during this COVID-19, I'm seeing updates on LinkedIn. People have lost their jobs. And because many of them, or the people that I know that have been seeing their updates on LinkedIn, I'm like, how come these people are not even, they're not so, they are worried, but at the same time, they're not allowing the worry, the stress, the job loss to cloud their mind. How come these people are so resilient? That was what I was asking myself. Like, people are boldly posting their resumes online. They're actually putting up posts to ask people for help, to tell people that, yes, this COVID-19 made me lose my job, but I really want to be meaningfully engaged so that I can pay my bills and get my life going. They still have that resilience, that strength, that persistence to go for what they want. So when you look at a scenario like that, you find out that many of these people are people who have been practicing mindfulness for a long time. And that way it has also helped them to develop a very deep and meaningful insight of who they are, the changes that are happening in their society or in their community right now, and how they can adapt in such a way that will make them blossom progressively, right? And that's why they have that temerity to go online and say, you know what, I lost a job, but I'm not going to sit here. I really need something to do. Please, if anyone has any opportunity, please help me. So that's what mindfulness does. It gives you a very deep insight. You get to feel what you're feeling right now in your community, in the world, but not just stopping there. It's about observing and then taking intentional actions. So that's what mindfulness does. And I really encourage people that, you know what, no matter how chaotic our world is right now, it feels like our world has fallen apart. Do not be on the ground for too long. And what I mean by that is, don't stay in one corner of your room and cry all day. It is okay to cry. It's okay to release those tears. Let the disappointment, the sadness, everything, let it out. Let those negative energies out. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not feel okay actually during this time. But don't be on the ground for too long, because whether we like it or not, our human existence, every human being is looking for one way or the other to survive and to sustain themselves. So the question is, after COVID-19, what next? What next? That's what you should be asking yourself. So that's where mindfulness comes in. That's why it's very, very critical, very important for you to start mindful practices. Mindfulness doesn't mean you have to do yoga, or you have to pray, or you have to read a religious book or something, or you have to listen to music. No, it could be anything. It could just be you rearranging your thought process, rearranging the things that are going on inside of you, self-regulating your emotions and your behaviors, and choosing not just to react to things, but to take a step back, pause, self-reflect, and respond coherently. That's what self mindfulness is all about. Mindfulness will also help you recover from chronic physical illnesses. For me, I think that was, yeah, so that was actually in January. I traveled to a different city here in Canada for a summit, and then I got back home and my world just crashed. I couldn't walk, I couldn't go, I actually couldn't do anything. I couldn't stand up from my bed. I was on my bed for like 2 days, and luckily my housemate was there to help me clean up and stuff. Like, it was that bad. But you know what? And then I got a lot of, advice from people, suggestions, and people telling me, Brenda, you're always in your room. Because if I'm not at work, or if I'm not doing a community engagement, like maybe volunteering or attending workshops, I always stay in the house. And I realized that being on my bed all the time is just a sedentary lifestyle, just sitting down there for long hours, not doing anything. You're just lying on your bed or sitting on your couch. That's a sedentary lifestyle. And it will cause you a lot of physical illnesses. So what I started doing was watching videos on YouTube, like people who are doing exercises at home. I was watching them, trying to, emulate their steps and all of that. And now I feel so good. I feel better. I feel stronger. That's an example of mindfulness. So mindful practices help you recover from all kinds of physical, when I mean physical, like anything that has to do with probably your joints, your muscles, your bones, those basic pains you get to feel. But by the time you start your mindful practices, especially the ones that require you to, exercise your body, you will feel better. You will feel very good. Another good thing about mindfulness is the fact that it will help you develop a robust coping mechanism and also build emotional resilience. So what I mean by that is, when you start mindful practices, you become more emotionally resilient. You become more persistent in the things you do. You wouldn't even allow situations that are going on around you to weigh you down. Remember what I said? Do not stay on the ground for too long. Pick yourself up. It takes a lot of courage, right? We will fail. Disappointments will be there. We'll lose our loved ones. Things like COVID-19 will stress us out. But you have to always find a coping mechanism to get back to your normal life, right? And even the brain, so I have my background in psychology. So even the brain, there's something we call neuroplasticity. Exactly what the brain does. If you have gone through a very, very strenuous it could be anything. Maybe you fell down, you had an accident, you did a surgery, or you had a big punch on your head, or something happened to you. The brain has a way of rewiring itself back. And that's why people heal. That's why people heal after a surgery. That's why people get on their feet and be able to walk even after an accident has happened. That's why people are still able to move on with their life even after a heartbreak in their relationship. That's why when people get scammed and they lost their money and everything, they have to pick themselves up again and start from scratch. The brain is actually, you know, regaining itself back. Neuroplasticity is always happening. Same thing with COVID-19. It's a very chaotic time. It's a very stressful time. Very, very horrible time right now that everyone is facing around the world. But emotional resilience is very critical in this period. And the only way you can actually develop emotional resilience is through mindful practices, right? You have to devise your own coping mechanism. So there's something, I saw something on social media. I think it was basically on Twitter. I think Twitter is becoming very problematic and toxic these days. There were some people who were, putting out tweets and saying, oh, if you do not enroll in online courses, if you don't do XYZ, that means you've wasted your time and all of that. All of those type of tweets and narratives are very, very toxic. And it's bullshit, to be honest. It's nonsense, because our realities as human beings are totally different, right? We're all going through a global pandemic right now. Fine. That's the unique factor that, that's the unique factor that actually joins everyone together right now. Everybody in the world is facing a global pandemic. But the difference is the way we cope to situations is different. The way we adjust to changes is different. So even if somebody is spending their time taking 1,300,000, 500 online courses, that is what they want to do for themselves. But I don't think it is appropriate or it is okay for somebody to come and try to project their own level of strength or coping mechanism on other people. So everybody has to come up with their own coping mechanism. For some people, it's just waking up, taking a shower, having your meals, watching a movie, listening to music, chatting with your friends and your family, even sharing memes, laughing laugh at tweets and laugh at funny things online, and then you go back to bed. That is okay. If that's your coping mechanism, that is totally fine. You don't have to immerse yourself in any so-called work-related activity. You don't have to do something that is going to drain more energy from you, because we are already mentally stressed right now. So why am I saying this, or why am I giving this example? I want everyone to understand that it is okay for you to develop your own unique coping mechanism. Whatever works for you right now, do it to make sure that you're fine, you are safe, you're healthy, you're doing very well. You don't have to listen to what people are saying. You don't have to do what other people are saying, because what works for person A might not work for you, right? There are people who do yoga, it will work for them, but if you try it, it makes no change or no difference in your life. There's some people who think right now is the time for them to do a lot of journaling or a lot of writing and whatever. It might not work for you. There's some people who prefer, okay, this COVID-19, I will listen to more music, I will watch more movies. You might want to try that. It won't work for you. So just focus on developing your own coping mechanism that will help you build more emotional resilience, that will make you regain that balance that you need. Because in life, we need balance, we need moderation in everything. So do what works for you. And you are the only person who knows how to design something that will work out for you. You just have to sit down and ask yourself, okay, it's a very disturbing, stressful, chaotic time right now in that humanity is facing. What can I do to make myself not be in a position of harm? And that's where you have to, analyze your strengths, analyze your skills, analyze your core values. So at the end of this webinar, what I'm going to do is I will share a document. I'll share a document. I don't know how everyone is going to get it, but or if I'm not going to share the document, I'll just explain, and please take notes as I'm talking right now. So in terms of developing your own coping mechanism and taking care of yourself during uncertain times like this COVID-19, I would suggest it works. It works for a lot of people, and I think it will work for everybody participating in this webinar today. Do a personal SWOT analysis. Many of us know what a SWOT is. Usually you hear it when we talk about business. But SWOT analysis is something you can utilize in different areas or aspects of your life. In your career, education, your finance, your mental health, you can actually utilize a SWOT analysis. So when we're talking about mindfulness, wellness, well-being during this time, the number one thing that I always tell clients to do is draw or map out a personal SWOT analysis for yourself. So the way you design your personal SWOT analysis, you get a paper, or if you have your phone, your laptop, just open any of your notepad or notebook apps on your phone, or your Google Doc. If you can use Google, you can use a Google Doc, or you can use your Microsoft Word. So create create a box. I'll just use the word a box. Create a box that has 4 quadrants, right? The first part, the first box, you will put S, and S stands for strengths. And then the second one, you will put anyhow you want to align it, SWOT. So the W stands for weaknesses, and then the O stands for opportunities. The T stands for threats. Definitely COVID-19 is going to go into the quadrant that says threats, right? So when we talk about strengths basically we're talking about the things that you can actually maximize, the things that you can actually magnify as an individual, as a person. So think about your skills, think about your strengths, like it could be anything, even positive behaviors. Think about all these things that make you who you are. If you're the type of for some people like to talk about their achievements. Your achievements can also go under strengths. Anything you've accomplished, even if you've worked before and you were able to accomplish XYZ. For example, let's say you worked for a nonprofit and you were their communications manager or social media manager, and when you joined that company, probably they had maybe 20 followers on their Twitter, but you helped them to gain up to like 5,000 followers. It's an achievement, right, based on the work that you do. So you can put anything you consider an achievement, an accomplishment, your skills, your strengths, your core values, the things that make you who you are. For example, integrity, honesty, whatever, anything you want to write it down under the S. And then for the W, which is weaknesses. So when we talk about weaknesses, a lot of people think weakness has to be something that is so negative. But to be honest, like I said, I'm going to be using I'm going to be speaking from a psychology point of view as well. Sometimes your weaknesses could be too much of that behavior you have. Remember, I just talked about self-regulation. You self-regulating your emotions and your behaviors, always checking how you feel. So that's where, like, when we're talking about weakness, same thing happens. Sometimes some of the behaviors we have, the behaviors we think, oh, it's just me, it's just my way of life. A lot of us tend to be toxic to ourselves and to people, but we do not know, because we do not want to listen, or we do not want to take time to check what is going on and how we're actually reacting to situations around us. So that's where weaknesses comes in. In psychology, we have something we say, behavioral excesses and behavioral deficits. So you can use either you can actually name either some of the behavioral deficits or excesses you have under your weaknesses. So for some people, I'll give an example of behavioral excess. So behavioral excess simply means too much of a behavior. You know how in our society everybody says, oh, you should have probably they will say, oh, you should be able to get things done on time, like do not wait to the last minute. So now, for some people, that's a good thing. Like they like to get things done. They don't wait for deadlines. But because they don't always check that particular way of approaching things, they end up doing things in a very haphazard manner. Like they just want to get things done, pack, 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 and that's it. So they can turn in their paper or turn in their project or submit that proposal or whatever it is they're working on without having enough time to go through it. So that could be a behavioral excess, and it could actually cause you problems, right? So another example I'll give for behavioral excess is communication. A lot of people, for them, it's like, oh yeah, I'm very outspoken, I'm very vocal, I know how to express myself. But when do you draw the line? When do you know that? When do you draw a boundary of, not saying things that are inappropriate, or you not typing things that are inappropriate, or you not even tweeting things that are, for example, on social media. Many of us actually use social media. I feel a lot of people do not think before they put out things on social media. They just put things out and they do not even think about the consequences. Yes, you're very vocal. Yes, you're very expressive of yourself. You have audacity and everything. But sometimes the way we communicate our thoughts, or even whatever it is on social media, can be very, very, detrimental to either your audience or even you, or even your stakeholders who are looking at you. So the same thing happens when we talk about behavioral excess. For even communications, again, a lot of people like, oh yeah, they're very vocal. They'll go to work and then they start talking without knowing when to stop. That's a problem. You being able to communicate, express yourself, it's fine. Obviously, we want everybody to know how to communicate. But when you do not know how to word or convey your message or what to say when you're at work or when you're working with other colleagues, that's when it's a problem. So that's a behavioral excess, or if you can even slide into behavioral deficit as well. So deficit simply means too less of a behavior. A lot of people, I used to struggle with that too sometimes, where I would be like, I'm going to do this thing later. I will do it later. That's what I always tell myself. I keep postponing things, like what we call procrastination. I'll keep postponing things until deadline. And I'm like, okay, this is not it. Because the same way that person who likes to get things done on time is the same way somebody who procrastinates a lot. They are almost experiencing the same outcome or the same result, because that first person that wants to really get things done without even thinking twice to go through their work, they just want to get it done and submit, they might end up not getting the expected outcome or result. And then same way for the person who procrastinates, you just want to wait till deadline and submit your work. That's also a problem, because you might end up not getting your results. So for weaknesses, think about your behaviors, behavioral excesses, behavioral deficits. It could even be a limitation that you currently have. So that limit could be maybe you don't have certain skills. For example, we're talking about mindfulness right now. Not everybody has the capacity to adapt to changes. So adaptability, a lot of people do not know how to adapt to changes. Resilience is not everybody that is resilient, right? So these are all like limits where you have gaps and you need to, look for a way to either learn those things or get better at those things or minimize those things. But overall, when we talk about weaknesses, we always say minimize your weaknesses. And then when we talk about strengths, we always say maximize your strengths. And then for opportunities will be those things that are readily available to you, or even if they are not readily available to you, they're actually out there and it's something that you can utilize or capitalize. So when it comes to opportunities, look for things you can utilize. Look for things that you can capitalize. It could be a mentorship. It could be this webinar. Trust me. For the fact that the consent workshop is doing a webinar like this, and other webinars they have for everyone, I think it's actually a very amazing thing to do. Because just yesterday I got an email from one organization that I signed up with them, and they actually have a webinar, an online webinar, and they're asking for money, right? So when you're enjoying benefits from organizations like the Consent Workshop that are creating this free learning opportunities for you, this is something you should put on your opportunities, on your SWOT analysis, right? The webinars, the mentorship, even you having access to free knowledge on social media. Like I on my social media, there was a time I talked about having a personal learning network, your PLN. That's people you learn from, right? That's also an opportunity you should write on your personal SWOT analysis. If there are job opportunities, or if you know people, like networking connections, these are things you can also put under your opportunities. If you have people that are readily available to support you, to offer you guidance, to offer you advice, suggestions, you can all just put all of them under the opportunities. So when we talk about threats, that's the T in the personal SWOT analysis. We're actually referring to those things that stand as a huge barrier to you, those things that impede your growth, your success, those things that now in this scenario that we're addressing, mindfulness, for your threats, you can be thinking of things that will actually stop your emotional, like they will affect your emotional security. So when I'm talking about emotional security, I'm referring to everything that has to do with you being fine, your emotional wellness and all of that, your mental well-being. So anything that is going, not just a thing, not just an inanimate thing, not just an activity. Sometimes it could be human beings. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be somebody at work. It could be somebody in your religious society. It could be somebody on social media. So all these things, it could be an economic thing too. So maybe right now, like COVID-19 will not, there's this lockdown. Lockdown is a very disturbing word, and I don't know why the government used that, because it has to do with prisoners and stuff. So the confinement, I don't think it's actually a very good way of handling what is going on right now. So that's something you can write under the threats right now that are stopping you from, maintaining and practicing your mindfulness. So anything, it could be that there's a lockdown right now, there's COVID-19 right now, there's a lot of fear mongering going on social media, or for some people, which I feel very bad, for some people, this COVID-19 lockdown doesn't favor them because there's a high report of intimate partner violence, IPV. So those things are going to definitely stand as a huge barrier and threat to the, mindfulness and emotional resilience of whoever is designing their personal SWOT analysis. So before you decide the mindfulness practices you want to carry out for yourself, I'm going to talk about, I'll just give you examples of some of the mindfulness practices we have. Before you do that, please make sure you work on your personal SWOT. Write down as many things as you can on that SWOT analysis. So that way you, like I said, the strength is for you to maximize or magnify. The W stands for weaknesses. That's for you to minimize, right? And then the opportunities are things that will make you blossom, things that will make you flourish, learn, grow, succeed, and even just be fine. So those things are things you want to either utilize or you want to capitalize on them, right? And then we talk about barriers. So barriers, you definitely want to eliminate barriers or look for a way to even minimize them. So for example, a way you can eliminate barrier for like social media can be so toxic, like I mentioned, and we are all aware of that. So if you think you're spending too much of time on your social media and it's draining your energy, like you go online everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere is just COVID-19, but you're maybe on your timeline, you're only seeing the false news, the fear mongering. It is something you can mute certain words, or you can unfollow certain people, or you can block some people if you want, or you can uninstall your app, or you deactivate your account. Just do something that will make sure it's not standing as a big barrier to your emotional resilience right now, or even to your personal growth. It could be like I said, a threat could even be someone. It could be friends, it could be family members, church leaders, religious leaders, whatever. It could even be a colleague at work. So try to, look for a way to stay away from people like that. It could be an activity you're always engaging in, like the number of hours you're spending so much on, that particular show. You feel like, oh, you have to watch that show. If not, and then you have to ask yourself, what exactly am I benefiting? Is this thing even making me better? Or this thing is actually inducing more anxiety, especially during this period? Like, I know I used to watch a lot of horror movies, but this is not the time I want to spend 2 hours being on the TV or Netflix to be watching things that will, frighten me, especially now during a global pandemic. I do not want to do that. So just bear in mind that you have to create your personal SWOT analysis first, making sure that you're maximizing your strengths, you're minimizing the weakness, you're utilizing or capitalizing the opportunities, and then the threats are things that you want to eliminate, or just try to look for a way you can just cut those things and make sure that they do not get closer to you, to the point where your energy is totally drained and you just don't even know how to pick yourself up again to continue with life. So once you're done doing your personal SWOT analysis, the next thing you want to do is, how exactly am I going to design or select? So like I said, you can either design your own mindfulness practices for yourself, something that works for you, something that you think is going to lead to a very robust coping mechanism for you, or you can use suggestions and tips and things that have already worked or are still currently working for a lot of people. So when you are talking about your mindfulness practices, there are 5 things I want you to bear in mind or have in mind. The first one is observation. Make sure you first observe what is going on around you. and what is going on within you, right? It's like a two world: the inner world, which is in your mind, your subconscious mind, and then the outer world, your environment and everything outside of your mind. So observe things, observe what is going on in your world, in your community, on your social media space, and even in your own personal life. So observation is not just you seeing all the things going on outside. Sometimes it's about you. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I behaving this way? Why am I talking this way? Why am I even doing things this way? So always observe your emotions, observe your behaviors, even the actions, observe yourself, and then observe what is going on around you. How are other people? Nobody's an island, so we always have to learn from other people and try to see the world through other people's lens. So always ask yourself, hey, I know like it's COVID-19 and everybody's, struggling with life right now. So what are those people? What are my friends, or what are my family members, or what is that person that I actually look up to? What is that person doing to stay sane? Can I actually learn one or two things from them and try to incorporate it into my own mindfulness practice? So observation is the number one thing. The second thing you have to consider is description. So I know that I think last week on my Twitter, I talked about the power of renaming things. If you do not know how to rename your emotions, you do not know how to rename situations in your life, or even circumstances, the brain, whatever you say, the brain stores that in your schema. So that's what is. So if you see yourself as, for example, now there are people who wake up every day and use negative words on themselves and say, oh my God, nothing is working for me. I feel so useless. I feel this, I feel that. That's a lot of negativity you're registering into your mind, in your brain. And that's what you begin to see as your reality, right? So description or renaming things is power. It's key. Why am I saying this? There's power in language. There's power in words, right? So you have to get, especially right now, or not just even right now, because this mindfulness webinar is not just about COVID-19 or whatever is going on. It's about the things happening right now, everything, and even things that will also happen later in life. So describing things and renaming things is key. I was telling two of my clients last week, you have to get to that point where you say enough is enough. I always say the EOE moment. You have to get to that point where you say, you know what, I am not doing this anymore. I am not tolerating this situation anymore. Things have to change. And then once that sort of thinking is registered in your mind, that is when you see yourself, you're not looking forward to carrying out intentional actions. I'll give a simple example. If you think like, oh, you're spending a lot of money ordering food, buying food, eating out and stuff, and you think that it's not really helping you in terms of your finance, you have to get to that point where you say, you know what, it's enough is enough, Brenda. I am not doing this. I have to go to the grocery store, buy food, come home, do my meal myself. It gets to you. Same thing with your mindfulness practices. Get to that point in your life where you say EOE moment, enough is enough. I am not a victim of circumstances. I am not a waste product. I am not this. I am not that. I am reclaiming my confidence. I am reclaiming my power, my beauty. I am reclaiming everything that is mine. I am reclaiming my well-being and my wellness and my wholeness and stuff. So you have to know how to describe things. Same thing, like I said, when you're done observing things, the next thing is, why is this thing like this? Why, like, where exactly are things happening this way? Why are they just going ABC when I wanted to go XYZ? So you have to know how to describe yourself. Even in the business world, when we're working and, designing programs, or even entrepreneurs do the same thing, you always have to ask yourself, what is the problem statement? You always have to have a problem statement. And that problem statement, they would do something we call the root cause analysis. You want to know why. Why is this? I'll give a very realistic explanation again for this in terms of describing things. Even at home, I'm sure people, like, you wake up every day to think about the things you want to eat for the day. And then the next thing is, how are you going to prepare that food? You might cook that jollof rice, you might cook whatever it is, and then that jollof rice doesn't come out the way you want. It's not tasting exactly how you want. The next thing you start asking yourself is, why is there too much of salt in this food? Why is there too much of oil? Why is the onion like this? Why is the tomato paste tasting this way? You begin to ask questions, right? And then the next thing you do is what? You begin to describe. Oh, I see. I added 2 spoonfuls of salt. Oh, I see. I added 4 cups of water and it's too much. You begin to describe. And by the time you finish describing what happens, the next thing you want to do is to take intentional actions to correct things, to adjust things. So that's how mindfulness works. Observation first, the second thing is description, and then the third thing will now lead to aware actions. Instead of, well, I don't say aware actions, I usually say intentional actions. And that's when you now say, okay, there's COVID-19, I lost my job, now that I'm jobless. So you saying you're jobless, you don't have to say you're jobless. Rather, you can say, right now I'm not meaningfully engaged. Now that I'm not meaningfully engaged, I have to actually look for ways to, bounce back and not allow this whole situation to weigh me down. That's when you have to start thinking about, okay, I think I need to optimize my LinkedIn profile. I think I need to edit my resume. I think I need to go to job boards and apply for more job opportunities and stuff like that. You can apply this to every aspect of your life, like every aspect of your life. So that's what mindfulness practices when it comes to observing things, describing things, and then taking intentional actions. And then after taking intentional actions, obviously, for you to take intentional actions, can you see why I said you should do a personal SWOT analysis, especially for mindfulness? Because that SWOT analysis is going to serve as a framework that shows you exactly where there are gaps and what needs to be fixed, what needs to be changed, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be adjusted, right? You can see. And when you're looking at your personal SWOT analysis, the thing, there's another, so when we talk about SWOT, I'm just going to mention this before it skips my mind, because I'm talking about taking intentional actions. There's some people who call it the TOES analysis. So they merge the threat and the weakness as external factors, right? Because threats and weaknesses, obviously, these are two things that are acting against your growth, against your success, against your emotional resilience, against your mindfulness, against your mental health balance. So you place your the threats and the threats and the weaknesses on one side and categorize them as external. And these are things you either want to do what you want to minimize or you want to eliminate, and then you merge or pair your strengths and the opportunities as one category, and then you label them as internal factors that will help you succeed. So that relates to what I'm just explaining, taking intentional actions. After you've done the observation, you describe what the problem is or what your struggles are or what the situation, the circumstances are. Now it's time for you to take intentional actions. Will not just happen like that. You have to plan. You have to tell yourself, okay, I'm having waist pain, I'm having back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, leg pain and stuff. What am I going to do? Do I need to maybe download a yoga app? Do I need to check a YouTube channel and watch more yoga videos and tutorials? If you're the type of person who you just want to, express your thoughts and the emotions that are going on through your going on in your subconscious mind. For some people, they prefer journaling. For some people, they prefer to stand. Like for me, I stand in front of my mirror to talk, to speak. I just go into my bathroom. I just talk, just let it out. And then at the end of the day, once I'm leaving the bathroom, I end with positive auto suggestions. So using affirmations and reclaiming that sense of being and that sense of, my worth, taking it back and saying, oh, I'm not going to allow this situation to weigh me down. Like for me, I have an exam. My exam was supposed to be like last month and it got canceled because of COVID. And that has really affected me like badly. It affected me. Sometimes I don't go for my work meetings online on Zoom because I'm just thinking, you know what, this is something that is actually very important in my life right now. And if I don't get it done, what is going to happen next, right? But I just have to relax and tell myself it is what it is. Things have already happened. The things I can't control, I'm not going to, worry too much about it, because worry doesn't necessarily solve things. It's only going to lead to a better outcome if you can channel that anger, channel that frustration, that disappointment, that worry into something you consider meaningful, something that will lead to progress. So if X doesn't work, how am I going to make Y work? If A doesn't work, how am I going to make B work? So that's what mindfulness practices does. Like, after observing what is going on, the things that have gone wrong, and mindfulness practices is not just you focusing about things that are not working, or things that are bad, or things that are negative and you want to fix. Mindfulness is also about you focusing on the good things, the joyful things, the happy things, the memorable things that are happening, the things that give you life, that make you lively, that make you, flourish, that gives you joy. You also focus on those things and also look for way you can magnify those occurrences in your life, right? So I don't want, when we talk about mindfulness, a lot of people think mindfulness is about you, fixing something that is bad, or trying to, adjust. Nope. Sometimes it's something that is good, and how can you, maximize that thing? How can you benefit more from that thing? For example, if you find yourself that journaling is something that gives you, that makes you feel very okay, makes you feel very good, like, writing down your thoughts, you want to continue doing that, right? You want to invest your time, your energy, doing something that gives you joy, doing something that makes you feel very happy, makes you feel like, yes, your voice is heard, your voice is, your thoughts are seen, and yeah, you're writing it down, you're seeing it, it's showing you how fertile your mind is. So let's move from the third one. After taking intentional actions, the next thing you want to do is, the fourth one is non-judgmental inner experience. When I was giving you the definition of mindfulness, I talked about you not being judgmental to yourself. So this is where I strongly suggest and advise that people should practice more self-gratitude. Like, show gratitude to yourself. You don't have to win a big accolade or big award or get a big grant or get a big scholarship before you can show yourself the love, the kindness, the compassion, the care, and the gratitude that you deserve. Do you know what? Waking up every day of your life and just even existing is a full-time job. It's a lot of work. You sleep, you wake up, you have to take a shower, you have to brush your mouth, cook food, wear clothes, go out, check your social media, do XYZ. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of existence. You existing as a human being requires a lot of labor, emotional labor, financial labor, manual labor, intellectual labor, name it, all forms of labor. So just existing is a full-time job. And I think you deserve care, you deserve compassion, you deserve love, you deserve gratitude. But you don't have to seek all of these things I mentioned from outside. It should start from within. That's why I was talking about creating a safe space and being a safe space to yourself first before others. You have to create that safe space. And that creating safe space is you waking up and telling yourself the things that your soul, your spirit, your mind wants to hear. Use positive affirmations and be very intentional about it. Don't just say these things and let it go. Make sure your mind is always replaying those words. I am enough. I am brilliant. I am beautiful. I will overcome. I will not allow things to weigh me down. You tell yourself all these things, and don't be judgmental, because whether you like it or not, there are thousands, millions of people who have it going on really worse and tough for them than you. But this is not a time to be doing suffering Olympics. No, I'm not saying you should rejoice or you should be happy that other people are going through tough times. Nope, nope, no. But I'm just saying that there are so many reasons, 1 million reasons we should be grateful for life. And that gratefulness or gratitude starts when you start telling yourself, you know what? Thank you, Brenda, for even being able to wake up this morning and go to the shower to take your bath. Thank you so much. Yeah, you always have to tell yourself a thank you. Don't wait for your boss. Don't wait for your friends. Don't wait for your neighbors, your family members, and your community people to tell you you're good before you realize that you're good. Nope, don't wait for that. That everything has to start from within, and do not judge yourself. So, for example, something didn't go out fine or didn't turn out well the way you expected. Come on, you don't have to be condescending to your own self. You don't have to be negative to yourself. Rather, tell yourself that you tried, but things just didn't work out fine, and you would try next time, or you try again and see how things go, and you ask questions. You will get to see other people's suggestions on how to fix XYZ. You have to learn how to fix the X for you to get the Y in your life. So that's how it works. Don't be judgmental to yourself. And if you're the type who doesn't judge yourself all the time, rather you know how to pat yourself on the back, how to correct yourself with love, how to be gracious and kind to yourself. Trust me, it's going to reflect in your many of us. Like, I was I think few days ago, I had one of my workshops on Telegram where we're talking about self-awareness and using the Johari window for personal assessment. A lot of us have blind spots. If you don't listen when people tell you things, that what you did is wrong, or what you did is right, or what you did is just, it doesn't make any sense, you do not want to take correction, then that's a blind spot you're ignoring. And all of us, like, when I mean everyone, there's nobody left out of it when I'm talking about blind spots. We all do. And that's why when we always judge ourselves. And the way we project whatever it is, people can easily tell, okay, that's how you treat yourself, so that's how you're going to be treating people. So if you're judgmental to yourself, it's going to reflect in the way you interact with people at work, on social media. Sometimes you go on social media, people curse all the time, 24/7. This is not even about you judging them, but it tells a lot. It tells a lot. You can easily tell. I mean, psychology is not something that people can hide for too long. People understand. People are reading behaviors. They're interpreting your behaviors and all of that, and it doesn't hide. It doesn't hide. For example, if you have appendages on your body, breast, you have a breast like a woman, or you have hairs growing on your head, even if you shave your hair completely, the hair keeps growing. The follicles will not stop bringing out hairs on your head. So that's how it is when it comes to your behaviors, your actions, your emotions, because it will be inside. It's coming from within. That's where it's being planted. That's where the seed is, and it's showcasing outside. And people will say, "Oh, okay, you're like this, you're like that, you're like this." There's some people who judge themselves from morning till night, but things don't work that way. And I get the fact that our realities are different. A lot of people are going through tough times, or they've had unresolved trauma. But like I said, it takes a lot of courage for healing, for mindfulness, for well-being, for wellness. It takes a lot of courage and emotional resilience to pick yourself up and get to that point of saying enough is enough, and then things will begin to change. So don't be judgmental to yourself, please. No matter what experience you've gone through in life, or what you're currently facing, don't be too harsh on yourself. Don't be unkind to yourself. Rather, choose kindness, be gracious to yourself, practice gratitude, because it takes a lot of courage to exist. Your existence is a full-time job. And then the last and the fifth parameter for measuring your mindfulness will be non-reactivity. Sometimes you go online, you see a lot of things, people will insult you, people will call you names because they're deliberately misunderstanding you, even in your family or in your friendship or at work. People will deliberately misunderstand you. But trust me, you are not responsible for whatever level of comprehension that people have. But sometimes it's also good to take feedback from people, right? But if you know it's something that that it's not something you want to focus your mind on and keep deliberating. And for example, I sit in my house when I've been working from home for the past 3 weeks now, since this whole corona thing started. It's a lot of work for everyone, right? And if I am in my house today and somebody brings a report and says, "Hey, Brenda stole my $50 at Walmart," that's not going to be possible, because I am in my house and there's no way you're going to come and say, "I stole your money." I am not going to react, because there's a difference between your reaction is usually immediate. That immediate thing you carry out, somebody says this and boom, you fire back. Nope. Things don't work that way. It just shows you lack emotional maturity. That's just the meaning. You lack emotional intelligence, you lack emotional resilience, you lack emotional literacy. And you do not want people to always, you don't want to always give people that opportunity to say things, do things, tweet things at you, or even send things to you in your DMs, or even at home, like, giving people that permission or that space to say whatever they want to say. You don't always have to react. Sometimes you pause, take a break, reflect. why did this person do this? Or why did this person, okay, we're working on a project. Why did this person do this graph when they're supposed to do a pie chart? Why did this person type this letterhead this way when they're not supposed to type that? Why did this person cook this jollof rice when at home we all agreed that we're going to make fried rice? So that's the way non-reactivity works. It's not everything you just have to, react to immediately. You pause and ask yourself the why question. The why question is very, very critical in our lives. Always ask yourself why. Why are things this way? Why did this person do this? Why did I do this in XYZ circumstance or situation? Why did I say this? Why did I buy this? Why did I download this app? Why did I even engage in that conversation that is trending on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever? So non-reactivity is key, because non-reactivity is what makes you create healthy boundaries between your internal world and your external world. You always have to think, right? Don't react to things immediately. Don't. Rather, take a break, pause, step back, and start, analyzing the emotions, the behavior, the actions, the circumstance. What is going on? Why are things happening this way? There's COVID-19. Where did COVID-19 come from? Why is there widespread of this zoonotic virus? Why are people dying? Why are people doing this? Why are people panic buying? You always have to ask yourself the why questions, and don't just react to things immediately. Sit down, reflect, step back, give it a critical thought, analyze things, and then boom, you will now know how to respond. Like I said, in business, that's what we do. We sit down, entrepreneurs will come, or even nonprofit organizations, because I design programs for nonprofits. They will come and say, hey, we have this program we would like to do. What are your thoughts? Can you help us have a framework, holistic framework, scope of project, blah, blah, blah. I have to sit down and start asking them questions. What is the problem statement? How do we answer the 5 whys? And what are the root cause analysis of this thing you want to do? For example, even this webinar is the same thing. Like, why is the consent workshop? Why did they actually decide to do this webinar, right? Because you guys saw a gap. You guys saw that there's a need, for education and social programming, and even mental health and wellness, talk to actually go on during a global pandemic like this. So it's the same thing when it comes to your mindfulness practices. Sit down and ask yourself, a lot of things are going wrong. It's very chaotic. It feels like the world is falling apart. How am I going to adjust to these critical changes that have happened right now in 2020? What am I going to do? What are the steps, the actions? Who are the people I need to talk to? So do not react to things just like that. Step back, reflect, analyze situations, and then decide. And life is very easygoing. Life is very simple. Anything that stresses you, anything that stands as a sort of barrier in your life, anything that is going to actually drain your energy, anything that's not going to make you grow, not going to make you flourish, not going to make you blossom progressively, you always have to minimize those things or cut it off completely. Because at the end of the day, mindfulness is just you saying, hey, I am being aware of what is happening in my environment. I am being aware of all the moments right now. And I'm also being aware of myself in terms of my mind, my subconscious mind. But I do not want to put myself in a toxic situation that harms me, that is unsafe, that is not healthy, that is not comfortable. And then you move on with your life and find practices that are going to make you feel better, that are going to help you regain your emotional resilience, and just make sure you focus on your personal growth, you focus on your emotional resilience, because it's not about being it's not about being beautiful outside. It's not about wearing this. If you take your time, any of you or all of you here, you can go online and read more about the Johari windows. You find that we all have a mask face, we have the blind spot, we have the things that we are and we don't want people to see, and all of that. So sit down and go through that concept and get to see. They have a template too. You can also do for the Johari window. Use it and analyze who you are, your behaviors, your emotions, and then see how you can use it, because we use Johari window for self-awareness, and then see how you can help yourself to become more self-aware. Because if you don't know yourself, if you are the kind of person who think you're good all around, it's a very problematic thought process. So learn how to identify changes, identify behaviors, emotions, and how you can make adjustments. And that's where self-regulation comes in, because self-awareness has to happen first before self-regulation. And then to keep on going, to keep on maintaining and sustaining your emotional resilience, your emotional literacy. Emotional literacy is a very big thing. It's not just about the emotion. Yeah, it's emotional intelligence, but it encompasses a lot of things. And that's where mindfulness practices comes in. So when you look at all these 5 steps that I've mentioned: observing things, describing things, intentional actions, not being judgmental about your inner experience, and also not reacting to things just like that, it will help you make a big, huge, positive, beneficial impact when it comes to your mindfulness practices. So the last thing is, how can we take care of ourselves during uncertain times like COVID-19 and many other tough times we are going through or we've gone through in life, or the ones that are even going to happen, because nobody knows tomorrow. Tomorrow is not even guaranteed, right? We're just living based on time. We're living based on time. We're trying to, hope for the best. So the thing is, when it comes to mindfulness practices, there are so many ways you can actually stay mentally fine. Some of those things could be artistic, some of them could be non-artistic, and there are so many things. So a lot of you even know about yoga. So meditation and yoga, that's just one way you can carry out a mindfulness practice. But the first one I'll be talking about is art-based mindfulness activities. I love it, and I think a lot of people like it too, especially kids and adults. So art-based mindfulness activities are those things, for example, mindful coloring. There are apps, you have some mobile apps on your Google Play Store or your App Store that you can download and just do a lot of coloring. Or sometimes you even, you can buy them from, bookstores, and like they have art books, or like they have workbooks where you can, do those drawings, colorings, and paintings and all of that. So art-based mindfulness activities like mindful coloring, drawing, it's so good. Mindfulness drawing can be structured in 2 ways. The first one is just having a worksheet, like a doodle without a plan and purpose. So what I mean by that, you remember when you were very little, when you were a toddler, the first time you held a pencil to start drawing or start writing, we're just writing a lot of things like everywhere, zigzag everywhere. So that's the first way you can do a mindful art-based mindfulness drawing or coloring. You just write, you just draw random things. It doesn't have to be something that is so unique, or something that is so beautiful or so fine. Just draw anything. So that's the first way you can do a mindfulness drawing. Just use a doodle without a purpose or plan. You're just drawing random things and coloring things, shading things in whatever way you feel at that point in time, right? So if you're feeling very joyful, just take your pen, color, draw, shade, do whatever you want to do based on that feelings and emotions you're experiencing at that point in time. And why is this way of mindfulness drawing very good? And the reason is because it makes you feel very pleasant. It gives you that opportunity to learn more about yourself. And then even when you're just drawing, you find out that you're now seeing patterns. And that's one thing I love. Everything about our life has to do with order. Everything about our lives has to do with processes. It has to do with patterns. And that's why even when things are not going on the way you want them to be, or you're not having the expected outcomes you've envisioned for yourself, that means there's chaos, there's crisis. And that gives, it's a signal that, hey, things are not working out fine. You need to, you know, Get yourself back on track and fix things up. Why are you always getting angry? Why are you always swearing? Why are you always cussing? Why are you always throwing things around? Why do you always get worried when people say things about you? It's actually a signal that there's chaos. There's crisis in your internal mind, in your subconscious. And if you're doing a mindful drawing is something that affords you that opportunity to start seeing patterns in your behaviors, in your emotions, your feelings. And then the second way is, and then obviously when you draw, when you paint, when you color, it's another way of exploring your creativity, right? The second thing when it comes to mindfulness drawing is you drawing from real life. I'm not an artist, so I don't really know how to draw something so beautiful, so good. But some people would just have an image. It could be maybe something, an image or photo on your phone, something you saw on the TV, or a photo you took in your environment. You sit down, you get all your pens, your colors, and everything, and then you draw. So that is a very, very therapeutic way of carrying out a mindfulness practice. Another way that I think, so one thing I always tell myself, a lot of the things that people think they are Western, they are foreign. Come on, these things are things that our grandparents and great grandparents and forefathers have done in the past. So I don't know why we're giving them so much meaning now, because on symbolism, because it's coming from the West, or it's not coming from Africa or from wherever you are. One way you can do mindfulness practice is through knitting. I did a lot of knitting when I was in my primary school, and even when my first and second year in the university, I made like table mats. And yeah, so knitting is actually a mindfulness therapy, right? Not all mindfulness. So let me just say this. Not all mindfulness practices require a yoga mat or a quiet room. Yes, yoga is very popular and all of that, but it's not everybody that is interested in doing yoga. It's not everybody that wants to even try yoga. So there are so many ways. Like I said, you can do mindfulness, you can do mindful coloring and drawing, you can do knitting. And knitting is not just something you just buy your yarn, or you just buy your knit pin and all of that. Knitting takes a lot of concentration, and that is one of the things your mindfulness practice should focus on achieving. How you can actually regain your complete concentration on all your focus, right? Focus is key, concentration is key, because when things are not going on right, that's when you're experiencing crisis and chaos right inside of you. Like you're disturbed, you're confused, you're angry, your emotions and feelings are just all over the place. But if you do a therapeutic thing like knitting, you're just sitting down, focusing, a lot of concentration, a lot of hand movement. Even your brain is moving on that time. You're thinking, hey, how am I going to put this knit pin and the yarn through the next hole or the next whatever? So knitting is actually very good. And when you're doing that, as you discover your rhythm, the background noise fades. It's kind of like when you are, because me, when I'm studying, when I'm reading a book, I like to listen to music. So and that way it just makes me, forget about the background noises going on around me. It's just my thoughts, my mind is, obviously your brain has two hemisphere. So everything, you're just concentrating. Okay, your one part of the mind is being fixed on that yarn that you're trying to knit, and then another part is maybe thinking of something else. Oh my God, I like what I'm doing. This thing is turning out fine. This thing is coming out really amazing, beautiful, and all of that. Another way you can practice mindfulness, which is the number 3 on my list, is observing mindful moments. So in practicing mindfulness, take time each day to shift your focus from a mode of doing and action to one of pausing. So what I mean, remember I just mentioned about people who go online and say, oh, you must enroll in this online course, you must do this, you must do that, da 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 da. Everybody's having hot takes on that particular narrative. But nope, you do not always have to be engaged in anything that requires energy. You do not have to be engaged. You do not have to, like, for example, we talk about toxic productivity, workaholism, hustle culture, all those things, and even worthless pursuits, right? You do not have to spend time, hours, doing things that require action, like doing action of being. You do not. Sometimes all you have to do in life sometimes is pause. You pause, you take a break, and then you start to observe mindful moments. Remember, I just talked about the 5 parameters or criteria we use when we're designing or selecting mindfulness practices. Observation, right? You observe, that's the first thing. So shift your mind from that mode of, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to carry this action, I need to write this journal, I need to do XYZ. Nope, move from that I need to, and shift it to, okay, it's time to take a break. It's time to pause. It's time to actually feel my emotions, observe my emotions, assess my emotions, analyze my emotions, and get to see how things are happening right now. So as you sit, you stand or move, notice, make sure you notice your feelings, your thoughts, your bodily sensations, and make sure you observe all these things as they come and go. How am I feeling? Am I shaking? Like for me and many other people, I know that when we are exposed to negative news, for me sometimes when I go on social media and I'm seeing a lot of things, I mute certain words. I block people who are tweeting nonsense or even posting nonsense on my LinkedIn or whatever. I block, sometimes even on my WhatsApp. um I'm seeing a lot of, sometimes we have those family members or just people in our community or friends who will send you all kinds of videos that are really, really not good, especially for somebody who has a panic attack. Those things are not nice. So either you just block or you tell the person that, okay, I'm not going to, I don't want to consume this kind of content, and then you move. So in situations like that, when you're exposed to negative news, abuse of any form, violence of any form, or anything in general that just stresses you, your stressors, your external and internal stressors, observe and then notice your body sensations. Some of us, we shake, we start sweating, right? We start shaking, we start sweating. It feels like there's this intense tightening happening in your heart. So observe mindful moments, observe how your body is reacting, the sensations, the bodily sensations, the thoughts, the feelings. Observe them as they come and go. And if you're very fast, it's okay to even pen down, write down some of these things. Okay, now I realize that anytime I see a bad news where maybe somebody has been murdered in a pool of blood, this is how I feel, this is how I react. I start shaking, I start crying. Write all these things down. Observe your emotions as they come and go, right? Emotions can be fleeting, except it has been registered in your schema for a long time, and then it keeps bouncing back, and then sometimes what I always say to people is greet whatever you find with an attitude of openness, curiosity, and compassion, right? You can, I mean, you were born in XYZ years ago, but now look at, you've changed in terms of your weight, your height, the way you talk, the way you reason, the way you accept things. That's where openness comes in. Are you open-minded? Are you the kind of person who is even noble-minded? Are you the kind of person who learns to see the world through a different lens, rather than you thinking all you say or all you do or all you think it's final? Nobody will experience growth. You will not grow in your career. You will not grow in relationship. You will not grow in the way you even interact with people. You will not even grow in terms of business if you are the kind of person who is not aware of your your blind spots. Mindfulness, if you like, do all the yoga in the world, do all the knitting in the world, do all the journaling in the world. If you do not take note of your blind spots, things will not change. If you do not observe your mindful moments, things will not change. So you always, always, always have to greet whatever you find. When I mean whatever you find, it could be people, it could be things happening on social media, offline in your community, everywhere at work. Greet things with an attitude of openness, curiosity, and compassion. Why is this person acting this way? Why did I even wait? Okay, wait. I was supposed to actually do a pie chart, and how come I'm doing this graph everywhere? I don't even understand what I'm doing. Ask yourself, what's the why? Why did you do that? So you always be open, greet everything, even that mistake you made in the past, the one you just made recently, that rejection letter that just came in, that disappointment, that heartbreak, that thing, that illness, that everything. Greet it, welcome it with openness. Because if you're not open enough to learn to see the world from a different lens, then there will be problem, right? You can just, for example, like when we talk about sometimes we talk about, maybe you ask somebody to go get something done for you, like maybe to buy a clothes or a pair of shoes. You've sent them the size, the color. Maybe you're saying something like blue, and the blue is not really the exact one you want. You get really angry and all of that. But you always have to greet and welcome things with openness, curiosity, and compassion. Oh, maybe this person didn't really, oh my, okay, maybe this person doesn't really know the color that I wanted, or I don't know, or they just felt like since it was the nearest alternative, let them buy these shoes for me and bring it and see how if I'll like it or not. You get. So always greet things with openness, curiosity, compassion, and try to come down to people's level to see why are they doing this, or sometimes not even about people. Why do things happen the way they do? And then that way it helps you to build better solutions and also carry out intentional actions in adjusting to that circumstance, or even changing things for the better. It could be for anything. So always, always give yourself that space and that grace to observe meaningful moments. So rather than signifying time to, okay, it's time to tune out, it's time to log out. Like for me, I always use the word unplug. I'll say it's time to unplug, and then you go. You will not find me anywhere. I will not respond to anything. I just want to be left alone. Maybe that's not. Sometimes that's the best action to do if everything is so overwhelming for you. But sometimes that might not be the best action, to just tune out or unplug, as we all say. Maybe sometimes it's tune in and get to observe mindfully what is going on around you. Observe those things more closely to your experience. And then remember I said, you learn to respond, not just react. And then you learn to respond to life with more clarity and wisdom. I always tell people, I put out a lot of resources on the internet, and people are like, I go online, I see people are taking courses, they're tagging me with certificates. Sometimes I'm like, okay, congratulations, well done. But the thing is, did you actually think before enrolling in this course? Like, is this something that will help you grow personally and career wise? Because I don't think it makes any sense that because you saw person A taking this course in cognitive psychology, and then you think, okay, I'm going to take because the certificate is free or what. Things don't work that way. You have to be very intentional. You have to observe, why should I be taking this online course? Does it even matter? Is it going to add any value to me in terms of my career, in terms of my personal development? Is it even going to increase my knowledge base? Do I actually need it? So you always have to observe things around you and tune in sometimes, like, okay, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. Why are they doing this? Let me go and peep. Let me go and see what they are doing. And you go on that online course, you check, it's not your thing. It's just not worth it. And then you check out, rather than sometimes we tend to criticize and complain a lot, but that's not how things work. You have to always learn to see life and be. We talk about empathy all the time. A lot of you just use that word empathy. You throw words around. Those things, using buzzwords and sound bites will not make any difference if you yourself, you don't check your own blind spots. You don't know how to observe your own moments. You don't know how to receive feedback with grace. Things will not change. And that's that what does that do? It hurts your mindfulness practice. Your mindfulness practice will just be, it's kind of like how we say, people say things, it goes through one ear and then comes out from the other one. So you always have to observe your moments, check your blind spots, and then that way it will help you, that mindfulness practice you're trying to carry out in your life, it will make it more beneficial. It will make you see the results, right? So please always observe your moments. And the reason why you need to observe your moments, sometimes, like I said, it's not all the time you say, I'm unplugging, I'm tuning out, I'm vegging out, I'm doing this. No, sometimes tune in and get to observe those moments. And why are you doing that? So that you will have clarity, you will have wisdom, you will have discipline, and then things will flourish for you. So taking time to be with yourself in a very critical time, in a time like this COVID-19, taking time to be with yourself on a regular basis is the heart of what is known as mindfulness meditation. Go friend yourself. Stop looking for validation. Stop looking for friendship from people. People will hurt you. People will say things to you. People will abandon you. People will neglect you, But you always have to pick yourself first. Go friend yourself. Get to know yourself better. Be with yourself on a regular basis. Get to discover who you are. Why are you on earth? What is the purpose? Why do you even think you need regular mindfulness to stay fine? Ask yourself all these questions. Be with yourself. Observe all the moments. Observe all the elements, all the things that make you who you are. And then the next one, the next way you can carry out mindfulness practices is being aware of how you breathe, right? I was just talking about bodily sensations when things are going on, knowing what is happening in your body. Are you sweating more? Are you shaking? Are you crying more? There are some people that when they're having problems, they can't even walk anymore. They're just on one spot, shaking and crying, experiencing tightening of their chest. So when it comes to being aware of your breathing pattern, focus your attention on how you breathe, breathing in and out. Notice your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Take time to observe your breath and just breathe out without forcing things to change, right? You don't have to pretend. You don't have to say, okay, I'll be fine. Observe. I just talked about it. Observe moments first. Focus your attention on your bodily sensations, your feelings, your emotions, and even your breathing pattern. What is happening when you're breathing in and out? You want to see what is going on, right? You want to notice what the changes that are happening in your body. So put aside each day a time to breathe in a very calm way, a way that makes you connect back to yourself. And anytime you find your mind wandering from place to place, which is definitely something that will occur, like every time our mind is always busy, the brain is busy, you're thinking of what to do, how to strategize, how to survive, how to sustain yourself, bring back yourself gently to focus on your breath. Like, what is happening? Am I breathing too fast, too slow? Is this a sign? Is this a problem? There are some people when they start having changes like that in their breathing pattern or even the bodily sensations, they can tell that there's danger. For some of us, we have that sort of, I don't know if I'll call it a clairvoyance or whatever it's called. We can actually tell that something bad wants to happen to either our loved one or even to ourselves, and then we just look for a way to, refocus our energy, our attention, and try to strategize in ways that can actually allow us to blossom progressively and stop whatever that problem or that event is that's going to harm us. So awareness on your breathing is very key. Another thing is awareness on your thoughts. Take a moment to see where your thoughts are. Are they focused on what you're doing right now, or are they somewhere else? So for example, we will say, oh, we have an exam. You pick up your study materials, and then you find out that your mind is just wandering from place to place. You're not even focusing on that thing you're studying. The next minute, you're thinking of that horror movie you watched yesterday. You're thinking of that jollof rice you ate on Monday. You're thinking of that thing that person said to you on social media, or that email, that rejection email. So always take a moment to see where your thoughts are. Are they focused on what you're doing right now, or are they somewhere else? And if your thoughts are really far away, back in the past or even ahead in your future, because that's how our thoughts are. Sometimes it takes you back to something that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. Sometimes your thoughts are up ahead in the future, thinking, you're just envisioning yourself, living in your mansion, driving all your beautiful cars, seeing yourself doing things in your office or whatever it is. Your thoughts are either taking you back in the past, or they're already ahead in the future. So notice these thoughts, and then look for meaningful ways, look for mindful ways you can bring them back to what you're doing in the present. And that's when you can do that mindful coloring I talk about, or mindful drawing. You might want to switch off your TV and listen to very calm music. You might want to do yoga. Sometimes for some people, their own therapy might even going into their kitchen, getting things from the food pantry and trying new recipe, whatever it is you want to do. Some will do journaling, some will cry. Crying is a therapy. So whatever people want to do for themselves, make sure you always stay aware of your thoughts and apply the same curious observation to the content of thinking about yourself. Like, why are things happening this way? What can I do? What is life trying to teach me? What is this conversation or this interaction I just had with my colleagues, or with my fellow volunteers, or with my boss? What is this conversation trying to teach me? Is there a lesson to be learned, or I just want to be adamant and not change? Or are there solutions I can actually prefer to these problems that we're experiencing at work, or in my nonprofit, or in my home, or in my community, that I can actually change? And then this takes you back to the SWOT analysis you did. How are you going to take those strengths that you have to actually create more opportunities for yourself, to create safe spaces for yourself, to create a very healthy and comfortable environment that will allow you flourish as a person during uncertain times? So always watch your thoughts as they come and go, without holding on to some of them or pushing away some others. So always, like I say, watch your thoughts, be aware of your thoughts, observe your thoughts. Another thing you might want to consider is single focus tasking. So for single focus tasking, what I mean is, a lot of people multitask. There's a lot of research saying that multitasking is not really efficient. Why some people say it is efficient. Some people even label themselves as multi-potential. Like there are so many labels and sound bites and buzzwords and things around there. But remember when we talked about the parameters for mindfulness practices, when we're talking about describing things after observing things, be mindful of the language, the words that you use. So in terms of single focus tasking, what I mean is, sometimes multitasking may become like, yeah, that's what you see. That's the norm. People say, yeah, I can cook while I'm cooking, I'm washing, I'm doing my laundry, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's the norm in our world right now. But is that really, you want to ask yourself, is this really helpful? Is this really safe, really comfortable for me? Is this really worth it? Should I be doing so many things at the same time? And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people are even angry on social media right now, with those people who are coming online to tell you should start a business, you should do this, rise and grind Twitter, or whatever they are called. Nope. You don't have to listen to, you don't have to start any business, you don't have to do something too overly productive. And even productivity, you have to define what productivity means to you. Like I said, waking up every morning, taking a shower, getting your life ready, it's already a full-time job. That is even you being productive. So don't allow people define productivity for you. Just make sure that it's not toxic, it's not harmful, it's not unsafe. Even some of the things we do at home, in our rooms, in our homes, sometimes those things can be so toxic. Some people think for them, when they spend hours and hours and hours doing all kinds of tasks at home or duties at home, makes them productive. But no, it's just sometimes you're just not giving yourself time to rest, and that can be very, very problematic. So when we talk about single focus tasking, as you do something mindful at home, it could be anything, try to come back to that task at hand if your mind wanders in different directions. So what I mean is, you might be doing yoga right now, you might even be knitting, you might even be doing that mindful coloring or painting, but you just, at the point, it gets to that point where you're like, you know what, I can't do this thing right now, I feel like I need to maybe sleep, I need to rest, or I need to go drink a glass of wine, or I need to get something to snack on. Yeah, it's okay to leave or abandon whatever that task you're doing at that point is. Just leave it alone and go declutter your mind. Just declutter your mind in any way you find very meaningful for you. Like I said, for me, sometimes I just go to my bathroom and talk to myself. You declutter your mind, and then you can come back and continue with whatever mindfulness practice you're doing, or whatever activity or task you're doing at that point in time. And why should you even, I think single focus tasking is good. It gives you that opportunity and that room to graciously accomplish things in a very, very progressive way. You don't have things here and there, like so many things. You just, like, remember I mentioned that order and processes, understanding patterns, order, processes in life will make a lot of difference. Apportion your time. Okay, five, like right now, 2 p.m. That's when we started this webinar, my time. Once I am done with this webinar, I know I have to go to my kitchen and go and make food for myself, and then I take my pills. As somebody who has status migrainosus, I'm dealing with pain every day of my life, so I have to take my pills, take my things, and then try as much as possible to sleep. I need good sleep. I will try to sleep and try to get other things done. So that's how it is. Single focus tasking. It's one at a time, right? Everything doesn't just happen just like that. I always use biological processes when I'm even giving analogies. Like many of us, we came out from a woman's womb. So you didn't just fly out one day, right? It's all about process, right? A lot of biological processes had to occur from the cellular level up to the time you became a baby that is ready to come out into the world. A lot of processes were happening. So that's how life is. That's when we talk about mindfulness, when we talk about our wellness, our whole being, who we are, our humanity, we need to understand that life is about processes, understanding patterns, orderliness. You have to maintain it. You don't have to do things zigzag. Nope. It will lead to more chaos. It will lead to things crashing here and there. So you need order. So I'm not trying to say that people who are multitasking shouldn't do what they like doing. Like, obviously, if you have the energy to be doing multiple things at the same time, if you think it works for you, that is fine. But if you're the type of person who, you're going to get really stressed when you're, trying to do multiple things at the same time, then relax and try to focus on just adopt the single focus tasking, where everything is time. Like, 2 p.m. you're doing this, 3 p.m. you're starting another thing, 4 p.m. is for you to observe your sleep or your rest, and then maybe when you wake up, like do whatever you want to do. But for some people, single focus tasking doesn't work for them, that's fine. They can do whatever. Like I said, the goal of mindfulness is for you to do things, do practices, do activities, do whatever that makes you feel very safe, very comfortable, that makes you feel very happy and joyful. You don't have to always imitate or emulate what other people are doing, except okay, let me try this. If I try it and if it works out fine, then I'm going to include it or incorporate it into my mindfulness practice. Then that is good. So I have said it all. Single focus tasking is a very good way of it's a very good mindfulness practice during this uncertain times. um, Awareness of your thoughts, you being aware of all the things, your feelings, your emotions, your bodily sensations, and all of that. The breathing pattern, what is happening when you hear bad news, how do you react, how do you feel? Are you shaking, are you sweating, are you experiencing tightening in your chest? How do you declutter? How do you take yourself out from such toxic environment? So your toxic environment could be anything, like it could be online, could be offline, it could even be the contents that you consume on social media, right? Look for ways that you can always take yourself out. When your mind is wandering, like I said, your mind wanders either back to the past, remembering things that happened to you in the past, or sometimes it takes you ahead into the future, those things you've envisioned for yourself. So do not ever ignore your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings. Observe them, analyze them, write things down, so that when you write those things down, it creates that opportunity and that room for you to carry out intentional actions. And then you do your SWOT analysis. I've been mentioning the Johari. It's called Johari, Johari window. So that's a very good framework you can use when it comes to self-analysis. You go online if you have the time, try to do Google search and read about it. There's a template. It's kind of similar to the SWOT and the personal SWOT, but it's different. It's similar, sorry, because you have like 4 quadrants. So you get to see different faces of who you are as a person and where you can make adjustments in your life. And it's COVID-19. A lot of things, COVID-19 has led to ripple effects in our society. A lot of people are unemployed. I was just reading the Statistics Canada report, and they are saying about 3.1 million people applied for a specific support program where government is giving people money. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. So and people have lost their jobs. We've seen it on social media. We've seen it on the news. A lot of people have died, and it's very sad. It's very horrible because many people who die from COVID, the virus, their family and their loved ones cannot be there or will not be there because it's very the virus is killing a lot of people, and it's contagious and stuff. So things are happening. There's a whole lot of heightened anxiety, depression. Even the self-isolation might not work for people who have certain kind of mental illness. For example, there are people who self-harm because of things that are going on in their life, and I don't think like this self-isolation might work for them. For those who have to face abusive, violent partners, parents, narcissistic parents, or even friends, these things are things that are going to affect a lot of people out there, and it might really, really also play a role on how you can respond to these changes, your emotional resilience. So if you don't have that time to do yoga or to do any sort of meditation practices out there, like I said, there are ways you can actually carry out mindfulness practices. You can do knitting, you can do drawing and painting, you can write your thoughts on your notepads, like journaling. You can write those things down. You can do anything. Sometimes you can dance. Me, I love dancing. I love dancing in my room. So I see dancing and crying as a therapy for me. Do whatever works for you. Design your own mindfulness practice, right? A lot of us do all kinds of rituals. When I talk about rituals, even just waking up every day, you know how every day you have to take your shower, you have to eat your meals, you have to take your meds. For those of you who take medications, you have to do XYZ. These are like daily life rituals you do. So how am I going to tweak it in such a way that will make me feel joyful, make me feel good? You know, talk to yourself in the bathroom, in your room, everywhere. Talk to yourself. And like I said, in a very critical time like this, you do not have to react to everything. That was the fifth thing I mentioned when I was talking about the parameters of designing your mindfulness practices. I said, I talked about observation, I talked about description, I said aware or intentional actions. I also said being non-judgmental about your inner experience. And then the fifth one, I said non-reactivity. So you do not, non-reactivity is the same thing as you not like rest. What that means is when I say non-reactivity, I'm actually translating it into having that ability to respond. So you're responding, you're not reacting to things immediately, right? When you react to things, it can lead to more chaos, it can lead to more crisis, it can lead to more breakdown, it can lead to more misunderstandings, because sometimes we tend to misunderstand our own selves, and that's why we end up judging ourselves negatively. We end up not seeing ourselves like we are good enough, or we are better, or we are thriving, or we are doing our best. So take cognizance of all these things that I've said. You can do your SWOT analysis and follow. I'm not really sure, but I will allow Frank to tell us if there's a hashtag we have to use, but you can tweet at the consent workshop, tweet at their handle. I went off my social media. I've not been online for a couple of hours. And then on my LinkedIn, I've not been online for 3 days, I think. But you can actually tag us right now. Like you can tag me right now. I'm back online. You can tag the consent workshop. You can tag Moments with Brand and share your thoughts. Let's see what you learned from this webinar, your suggestions, your questions, and I'll definitely follow up. So like I said, create the personal SWOT analysis for yourself. It's pretty easy. Like just draw a box with 4 quadrants on a piece of paper, or you can do that on your Google Doc or Microsoft Word document. The strengths that you have, the skills, everything that makes you who you are and that makes you feel proud of yourself right now. It could be anything, even if you're the kind of person who you talk about your core values. You're emotionally resilient, you're persistent, you have integrity, you know how to take initiative. Write all those things down on your the quadrant that has the S, and then write down your weaknesses, the opportunities that are available to you. So I'm going to mention something. We're talking about mindfulness and well-being, and yes, these are uncertain times. For example, this COVID-19, this global health crisis. I will mention something, and I don't know how people think about it out there, but you do not have to suspend your dreams and your destiny because situations changed in your life. Things don't happen that way, right? Things don't happen that way. You don't have to suspend your dreams and your destiny. You don't have to put one part of your life on hold and say, I will. Like my mom used to make fun of me sometimes, because she's like, when I was in my junior high school, when you ask me to do things, and the lazy are dying in my house. So when you ask me to do things, I'll always tell them, I'll do it later. I will do it later. I always say that. My mom would say, that's the only thing you know how to say, Brenda. I will, I go. Like in Nigerian pidgin, they say, I go do am after, or I'll do, like all this, I will. You know, it doesn't help me at the end of the day, because the result will lead to more chaos. So I'm not getting the exact outcome that I expected. So be very intentional. I always talk about it on my social media. I believe in the power of intentionality. You can have all the grades in the world, all the big high CGPA, all the big job titles and everything, big dreams. You know, people have big ambitions. They have bold ambitions, big ambitions. They have dreams. They have ideas. They have all kinds of things they want to do. But if you're not very intentional, if you're not deliberate, if you're not ready, readiness is another word you should also register in your mind. Just talking about what you want to do is just mere talk. But having that courage, having that resilience to pick yourself up and say, you know what? I have actually arrived at my EOE moment. It's the enough is enough moment. I need to get things done. I don't need to suspend my destiny. Trust me, last week I got 6 messages from people that I've worked with, clients who have gotten admission, scholarship offers, and they are so excited to resume school in September. Do not suspend your dreams. Do not suspend your goals. Ignore the background noise. Like I said, you do not have to emulate what people are doing. You do not have to listen to what people are doing. Mindfulness is even you being able, as long as you're observing all these changes and moments in your environment, both internally and externally, you also making decisions, deliberate decisions, intentional decisions and actions that I'm going to fix XYZ in my life, but I want to do it in my own way that works out for me, that will make me flourish. Then do it. Do it. Don't put your life on a hold because things change. Do not put your life on a hold. Do not put your destiny, your dreams on a hold. No, because whether we like it as human beings, COVID-19 is a very, very disastrous thing that has ever happened to humanity after the 1918 Spanish flu. But you know what? 1918, there was a Spanish flu. Guess what happened? Human beings kept evolving. And that's why we're alive. That's why we're here in 2020. We kept evolving. So I don't think COVID-19 is the end of our existence or is the end of humanity. We are still going to evolve. And even when we evolve, it just shows you how resilient we are as a community, right? This thing has destroyed a lot of lives, as that of things, but we will evolve, right? So do not suspend your dreams and your destinies or put your life on a hold. If you need help, if you need support, mindfulness is also part of that. After observing, and it's time for you to take actions, reach out to people, the right people who you think that will set you up for success, the right people who you think that will help you, design or come up with very good ways for you to thrive. Reach out to them and you will blossom. So that's the end of this webinar.
Thank you so much. Hi guys, thank you so much, Brenda, for doing this. It's been very insightful. I think of all of the things that I have picked up from this. I've picked up a lot of things. I know I'm definitely going to do read up on the Johari the Johari model you spoke of earlier. So guys, so what we're going to do after this is I will send, we'll try to get, Brent said something about a document she would want to get across to everybody. So yeah, we'll try to get that across to everybody. And then I will also try to get recording. I'll try to get the recording to everybody in hopefully before the end of next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bran. So, just for the purpose of this, I have a feeling a couple of people would have questions. But I think let's, I don't know if it's fine with you. Let's do that over Twitter. So we have a hashtag where we've been tweeting some of the things that Bran has been saying from this webinar. It's TCW Zoom. So you can go there and then we can move the conversation there if everybody's fine with that, so that we can actually have input and then get to talk over what we have actually learned from all of this and just have like an interactive session really. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good evening. See you on Twitter actually in a bit.
Yes, please. Everyone see you on Twitter. Bring up your questions, your suggestions. If there are things you learned from this webinar, please tweet at us. Frank has already shared the hashtag. I'm just going to read it out right now. It says hashtag TCW Zoom. And then the consent workshop, the Twitter handle is @consent_workshop, and my handle is @moments with Brand. So tweet at us, share your opinions, your suggestions, what you learned, questions, and please give a big shout out to the consent workshop for organizing this webinar. To the entire team and everyone.
Thank you, Brand. I see everybody's comments, so thank you so much. Unfortunately, we can't allow everybody to talk. But yeah, I see you on Twitter, guys. Have a good evening.